So welcome back to Learning Partner. So in this video, we are going to see another machine test. So that is nothing but an inquiry management app. So this is what we can say most famous and small companies will target some kind of machine test like this. They will ask you to create a form where inquiry can be made. Then inquiry list we have to show somewhere. We have to filter it out based on the subject or the inquiry status like that. Correct. So I have created APIs also. That API are available for free of use. And the modules we are going to use, major modules are like create new inquiry. We should be able to create new inquiry. We should be able to show the inquiry list. We should be able to filter the inquiry list also. We will be using Angular 17. So these are the modules. So HTML is already created. You will find it in the my GitHub under YouTube project template. Inquiry folder is there. Inside that you will find two pages. So first is this for creating new inquiry, and second to show the list of like this. So we will be using card format, and here will be button to navigate back. Let me just showcase you the API also. Pre-api.miniprojectsideas.com. You will have access to the Swagger, and in that you have to search for YouTube. In YouTube controller, I have all the APIs for this inquiry project. So here, oh sorry, I think I have deployed it on another server. Pre-api.zerasim.in. I will deploy it on the mini projects also, but for now we will use it from here. So YouTube. So here you can see get all inquiry status again. So in inquiry, we have to drop down subject and the status. This will come from the API. So get all inquiry status, get all inquiry subject. These are the drop down which we will need. Get all inquiry is the get API. Filter inquiry is the post API, which will be server side filtering to enable the server side filtering. Then get inquiry by inquiry ID to get the particular inquiry, add new inquiry, update new inquiry, and the delete inquiry by inquiry ID. So these are the way APIs which we are going to use. I have created, let me show you the API also. So this is my controller. In that, you will see get all inquiry status API, get all inquiry subject, get all inquiry API. In this, we have to add a join because inquiry status and inquiry subject will come from the another table because we have a separate table for that. Get filter inquiries. This is the API which is going to filter. We are going to filter with from date to date, contact number, customer name. We have to filter by subject ID, status ID, like this. And this is to get the particular inquiry. This is to create new inquiry. This is to update the inquiry. And last one is to delete the inquiry. Let me show you the table as well. So only three tables we have. Inquiry status and inquiry subject to store the status and the subject, then inquiry master. So this is the table where we are going to store the all the inquiries. Let me just show you the columns also. Even though we are Angular developer or React developer, we should be familiar about the basic database concept because somewhat in your career, you are going to lead a team. You have to talk to API team about the columns and the API need, right? So it is very essential to have the basic knowledge. So you can see these are the various details we have in the inquiry table. So inquiry ID is the primary key, customer name, contact number, alternate contact number. So here you can see only alternate contact number is optional. Remaining things are mandatory. So you will get the error if you don't send the data. Email ID, inquiry status ID is my foreign key, which will come from the inquiry status table. Just like that, subject ID is also my foreign key, created date and the narration. So this is about database table. Now let's start. This is the UI. So here you can see all the project templates I normally provided over here in the inquiry folder. You will find that. Now I have created empty project. So in Angular 17, I have around, let me just show you the package.json. I have installed Angular 17, the latest one that is 17.3.0. So to create new project, you have to open a folder or a terminal. So ng new and project name, whatever name you want to give. So just like that, I have created this project. After that, I have added Bootstrap also. So npm I Bootstrap and npm I font awesome also I have added just in case if we need icons. So two packages I have installed. So you can see here two entries are there in package.json. After adding any packages, just like Bootstrap or Foundation, you need to add the links of those in the angular.json also in style section. So here you can see I have added this. This is the basic project I have created. After that, in app folder, you will see by default, we get the app component. Now it is Angular 17, so we don't have app module. So I will skip that part, right? So we have app config, app component is my parent component. Now, how many components we are going to need? So if we see the UI, just two components. First, we don't have a login and everything in over here. But if you have time, if you know like login, so you can implement the login also. With local storage, you can do, or with static user check, you can also do. So this is the first page for creating new inquiry. And second is the to show the list of the inquiry. So we will create just two components. So in app folder, I will create a folder that will be pages. Let's create a folder. We will try to use whatever new things are there in Angular 17 so that we don't have to rely on the tutorials. Ng generate component. And the first component is like new inquiry. Whenever you are learning, try to learn while working on any project. By preparing just the topic won't be that much sufficient. But if you learn any topic while working on a project, now that will make more sense because you know the scenarios and the where you have to use that concept. So second component is inquiry list. So we have created two components. After component creation, first thing we have to create the routes. So in Angular 17, we have got app route.ts. So here we are going to create the routes. Routes is same. Previously, we used to have that class file, module file, but now it's just a constant file, and here we have to store the routes. So first route I will create is the default route, so path. In every video, I follow the same because you might get an interview question like what is the default route? How do we create the default route? So path, keep it as empty, then redirect to. We have to redirect to, let's say, home. And path my strategy, we have to specify full. So if in the URL we don't have anything, if it is empty, it is going to redirect to home route. Now we have to create the home route. Again, path. This will be our home route. If it is home route, which component we have to open? So that will be list, inquiry list component. By default, we will land to the inquiry list component. Then one more path to create new inquiry. Let's say new hyphen inquiry. Then component, which component we have to open it over here? New inquiry. Now in Angular 17, in route object, we have something that is title. So this is kind of an interview question. Previously, this title means the tab name. So whatever you can see here, document is there. Here Angular app 17 is coming. This is nothing but tab title. So how do we set the tab title in Angular 17? So while creating routes only, you can specify. So this will be inquiry list. Previously, we used to have title service. I think from Angular 15, we have this, not just in Angular 17. But before that, we used to have a service. And by using that service, we used to set the title in the component. On the component level, we used to do that. Title service was there. Now it is in routes only. New inquiry. Now in app component, let's get rid of everything. And we just need a router outlet. Now, router outlet is easily available. It's not like easily available. Once we create the project, by default, router outlet is added over here. That's why you can use it. So in Angular 17, whatever you use, you need to import it. Even though you have to use ng model, you have to import forms model. Even though you have to use router links, still you need to import that. So same rule goes for everything. Whatever you use, you need to import that. So let's just save and we should be able to see the inquiry list page because this is by default what we have said. So here you can see if we don't have anything in the URL, still inquiry list component is getting rendered. Correct? So first work is done. Now, inquiry list, this is the UI. So let's go to this. Let's copy the UI container. I will copy. We have to paste it in the inquiry list. Then we need, I have some CSS also, so we need that. Let's copy this. And this CSS are going to be needed for the inquiry list only. So I will put it in this component on CSS only. Let's save and check if we are able to see the proper UI. Yes, so see, whatever the UI we have copy pasted, same UI we are able to see. Now we need the create view. So this is for the create section. Let me copy. We have to put this into our new inquiry form. Let's say, let's try to navigate. What was our route? Our route name was new inquiries. So here you can see at the tab name, you can see inquiry list. This is why while creating route, we have specified the title. So here you can see new inquiries coming and inquiry form is also coming. Now, so let's close this. Work is done. So till now we have created component, we have created routes, we have added the what do we say, HTML also. Now from this project, we are going to make the API call. HTTP API, we are going to consume the API by using HTTP API, HTTP port. So to use HTTP API, first we need to, in the previous version, we used to have the app module. So in app module, we used to add HTTP client module, then only we used to consume the API. But now here we don't have app module, but we have app config. So in app config, we have providers. So here you can add provide HTTP client like this. So this is equivalent to what we used to add in the HTTP client module in the import section. This is equivalent to that. Either you can do this or in the component also you can add HTTP client module in the import section. Correct? Now, first thing, components are done. But from we have to make the API call, but it is not advisable to make the API call from the component itself. You should create a service. So let's create a service. So in app folder, I will create a folder that will be service. And in this service folder, I will create a simple service. Open a new terminal. Ng generate service. The name I will be giving is master. Any name you can give it. Just to make it common, I'm giving it a master name. So two files will be created. One is for the testing and one is our actual service file. Right now. So in the service file, we have imported provide HTTP client over here. So now we can create an object of HTTP client. Now, in the previous version, how we used to create the object of any injectable service in the constructor, you used to do that, what we call that as dependency injection. But from Angular 16, we have a new thing that is inject. So here I'm just creating a normal variable. Let's say HTTP client. We need to put HTTP is equal to inject. Inject is something new, and we have to pass HTTP client. So this is equivalent to what we used to do over here, private HTTP :HTTP client. So this is equivalent to this. Okay. So this is something new. What you should be aware, even though it doesn't it doesn't have to do anything with performance optimization or anything, but this is new syntax which you should be aware, because in Angular 17, when you create the can activate Gardener, you don't have a service. So if it's an arrow function, so there you should be aware about this, because you cannot create a object of router by creating in the constructor, because it's an arrow function. We don't have constructor. So this is how we use to create the object. Now, so here we will need first function. First, we are talking to complete the inquiry list component. So get all inquiry bracket curly bracket. Now, if we see the API, we say no, this is get all inquiries. First API, we are going to target this. Let's execute. So this is my API. To all the APIs, this is the common part, but just the method name is going to change. So I will keep this common part into a variable. So that variable will be API URL :data type string is equal to. Always try to make use of a single quote. Don't try to make use of the double quotes. Now here we are going to make the API call. So this .http API call is get. get requires only URL first, only one parameter that will be URL. So now here we have to concatenate. So this dot API URL plus our method name. So our method name is get all inquiry. Now this is old way how we used to concatenate, right? But in the ES6 we have something new, that is template literal. Again, that is an interview question. So if you try to use the concept in while programming, you don't have to actually prepare those topics while preparing for the interview. Try to use whatever new things are there in Angular, correct? So template literal we are going to use. So here dollar curly bracket this dot API URL. After that we need our method name, that is get all inquiry, like this. So this is the new way how we concatenate by using template literal. That's it. So in our service, we have created our API call. Now let's go to our component.ts. Now here, again, on the page load, we need to call that API call function. So obviously we need to implement on init and then implement. Once you implement, it will ask you to create the function also. Now, so we need to create the object of master service. So again, we can use the same way. Equal to inject master service. Not this master service. So this is how we have created. So now we don't have to create the constructor. We have created the object over here itself. After engine it, I will create a function load all inquiries. Now from this function, actually we are going to make an API call function. So this dot master service. Currently we just have one function in that service. So get all inquiry. This function is going to return the data type of observable. Save it. Sorry, we didn't return. So that's why it was not suggesting that. So now we are going to return whatever the response we get from this. By default, HTTP GET method will return the data type of observable. So we can subscribe to it. So see, it is returning data type of observable. So we can subscribe to it. So subscribe result colon name curly bracket. Now, whatever the response we get, that we need to store it into some variable. So this is the success block. Just to showcase error block also we can write. If you face any error while making this API call, it will land to over here. This is to handle the error. Now, whatever the response we get, that we need to store it also. So let's create a variable enquiry list colon any. It's going to be array of object. So I'm creating any. If you know how you create the class or interface, you can always create it. Don't make use of any just to save the video. Just to make the video short, I'm going with any. But just refer any of my video. There I have explained how you create class and interface. Now, whatever the response I get, that I need to store it over here. Now, if you see my API response, all my API will provide you a response of common object, that is message, result, and data. In data, you will have the actually data. So result dot data property you need to use. So whatever the response you get, that you are storing into this variable. Now this function you need to call on it, ng on it, because this is the lifecycle event which get triggers. Now we are going to get the data over here. Now let's make it dynamic. Let me just go to the top. So now if you can see here, this div that is call 31. Why the minimization is not coming? Yeah. So this is getting repetitive. This is the actual card which we have to iterate. So let me just get rid of the static one. Now we need to make it dynamic. Let's remove this. So in Angular 17, the new thing is we have control flow statement. That is in the HTML only, we can write @for and @if condition or @switch also. So now you don't need to use ng for. If you have to use the ng for now, in your component.ts, in the import section, you need to add common module. Without importing common module, you cannot make use of ng for an ng class. Ng for an ng. If you have to use the directive, you need to import it. But why to increase the imports now? Normally we can write @for loop in the HTML also without importing anything. So we should use that because this is the new thing and you should be familiar with this. And this is the normal for loop. Whatever the element you need to iterate, that will go inside this. Just like a normal for loop, whatever we know from our basic of programming. here instead of item, we need to pass our array. So that is inquiry list. It will go over here. Image, we don't have an image. What was the purpose? Yeah, this is the image. So we don't have to worry about the image. Image, we will keep it as it is. Here, we will say the customer name. So item dot. Let's see the response. Whenever you are binding the data from the API call now, just make sure you are copy pasting the field name. Don't try to assume like customer name will be there. Sometimes spelling mistake you will make. And here we will say, let's print the narration or subject. Where it is subject, we will print like what is this inquiry about. And instead of go now, we will say open. We need to remove this. On click of open, we will redirect to the, what do we say, edit mode. Okay. But let's just save everything for now. Let's test if we are going to get the inquiries properly. Let's go back to the home page. So now in the home page, why we have got 404? Let's check. So here you can see we have got this single quote that is coming from our service. Yeah, so here we have written this. We don't need this. I also forgot that. Directly value we need to provide. So now if we check, see, get all inquiry, we have got success. And in the preview response, you can see in data, we have got around 6 records. Now those 6 records, you can see, we are able to see it over here because we have used the @ formula. So our first work is done, the showing the list of the view. Filtering part we will do at the end, but just basic list we have done. Now on click of create new, we should navigate back to the create page. So let's go to over here. On click of this button, we need to navigate. So how do we navigate? On click of it, we have to make use of the router link. So here you will find a new thing. Our new route is new inquiry. So let me just copy. Let's paste it over here. Let's save it. Now if I inspect it, I'm just explaining you the new thing we have in Angular 17. So now here you can see we are able to see the router link. And if I click, nothing is happening. No error is also visible. This is how we write the routing, right? But it is not working. Why? Because again, rule goes, whatever you need to use, you need to import that. We are using router link. You import that, then only it will work. So router link. Let's save it. Now if I inspect, so see, now it has added this hyperlink and everything. Now if I click, still it is not. We are getting error. Okay, we missed the hyphen, sorry, slash. Let's add the slash. It will consider the parent loop URL. Now, if I click on create new, you can see we are able to navigate. So let's go back. Now on click of create new, we are able to navigate. So if you have to use the router link now, you need to import that in that particular component wherever you need to import. Correct? Now coming back to new inquiry. So let's check the API. So this is the new API. So if we see here, inquiry ID is my primary key. Let me just zoom a little bit. Inquiry ID is my primary key. Apart from that, inquiry status ID, inquiry subject ID, these are my foreign keys. So whenever we are working on any post operation, just make sure you analyze the object. What are the primary keys and what are the foreign keys? If we have the foreign keys, this kind of data, like some status and the subject, we might be getting it from some API. So here also we have those API, get all inquiry status and get all inquiry subject. Whatever the data we get from here, let me just show you inquiry status. That you need to display in your dropdown. That is nothing but this inquiry subject and this. So these are currently static, but whatever the response. So see inquiry status, new, open, close, booking done, on hold. This kind of inquiry status we have. Just like that, inquiry subject is also there. Let me show you that. While adding the data, I have just considered a scenario like if we are creating this application for a, let's say, resort, there, what kind of various inquiry subject there might be, let's say water park, resort, destination wedding, club party, get together. These are just the inquiry subject, correct? Now this will be available over here. Now on the page load, we need to make these two API call. These two API call we need to make on the page load. Then whatever the data we get, that we will bind it over here. So let's go to our service. Let's make the API call just like this. I will just copy paste it now to save the time. Get all inquiry status. Subject. Now here we just need to provide the your actual method name. First is get inquiry status. This will go over here. Second was get inquiry subject. Always try to copy paste. Don't make the spelling mistake by typing manually. You will end up making spelling mistake and you will get the error from the API 404. So API call function is done. Let's close everything. Now we have to do the part in inquiry list. Again, on the page load, we need to make it so on init. Let's implement it. So up to Angular 15, before Angular 15, this ng on init and constructor was by default there, but now they have gradually with the new version, they are removing unnecessary thing. If you need it, you write it. We are not going it to, we are not putting it by default. Angular team, that is what their conception now. Now, so again, here we need to make the object of our master service. So master service is equal to inject master service. Now we need to create two functions, get all inquiry, get all status. Let's make it simple. Just like that, get all subject. This dot master service dot get inquiry status. This is the API call dot subscribe result colon any. Same like that. I will just copy paste here. Get all subject API function call will be there. Now, whatever the response we are going to get, we will store that. Again, if you know how you use the async pipe, please make sure that you implement that. But just I'm considering like everyone should understand. That's why I'm going with the normal way. I will create a variable and I will store that. But if you know how you use the async pipe, just do like that. What is the next one? Yeah. So inquiry status list. Colon. Again, it's an array of objects. So we have to create like this. Just like that. Subject also we need to store. Inquiry status list. We will store it over here. Data. Just like that. Here, inquiry subject list will be there. And both of this function we need to call on the page load. Now in RxJS, we have fork join to make this API call. These are the two API call we need to make on the page load. So rather than writing like this, you can use the fork join and you can pass the array of this function also. Again, just to keep the video simple, I'm doing like this, but if you know fork join, just do implement that. So whatever on the page load, we are making this two API call, whatever the response we get, that we are storing it over here. Now we need to iterate it dynamically on the drop down. So this is for the subject. So in the option, we have to iterate. So at the rate for, just like that. Inquiry list, this option, this will be the first one. We will keep it as a placeholder. Then second, we will go over here. Let's remove this. Now here we have to use the property binding. So whenever you are going to get the array of object and that array of object you are going to bind to the drop down, always make sure you add the whatever the ID you get, correct? ID should go, the status ID will go to the value tag, and while displaying, you will display the status, whatever item dot inquiry status, and instead of this, you will display the subject, status. If it is a string of array, then value is not mandatory. Whatever the text you select, that you will be getting. But if it's an array of object, make sure you are adding the value, because in value, something ID will be there, and here you will display something. Now I will just copy paste this. Here, our second variable, that is inquiry status list was there, no? select subject. Oh, here we need to make the subject. Let me just copy subject list because first drop down is for subject. So this will go over here. Enquiry subject ID. It will go over here and enquiry subject we have to display. Now let's save and let's check on the page load. We should be able to see the two API call and whatever the data we get that should be visible in the dropdown. Let's reload one more time. So here you can see on the page load, we have got two API call. We have got the response also. Now if we check, here you can see subject is coming and status is also coming, correct? Now, the prerequisite are done. We have got the data. Now we need to check the object which we have to send. So add new inquiry. So this is the object. So we have to copy it. Now we have to create the object. So in .ts, we have to create the instance of single object, inquiry obj colon any equal to curly bracket this. Whatever the we have string, let's make it empty. This also we will keep it at empty. And inquiry status, we will keep it as empty because that is what we have said in the dropdown so that default placeholder will be selected. Enquiry ID is a primary key. So whatever the primary key is there, normally we send it as a 0. So that is the logic we normally API developer will write, considering primary key will come as a 0. Now, object we have created. Now this object we have to bind to our form by using ng model. So if you see in the form tag, we have our form. So name attribute become mandatory. So here square bracket, round bracket, ng model equal to our object name, that is inquiry object dot. This is for text name, so customer name. It will go over here. But now you are getting the error. Why is it? As in to use the ng model, we have to import forms model. But this is an Angular 17. We don't have app model. So in the component itself, you have the imports. So whatever you used to do in the, what do you say, forms? Why forms model is not coming? Let me import. Import forms from Angular slash form. Now it will suggest forms module. Now we can import it. Again, so what we used to do in the app module that you need to do over here in the import section. After importing this, you can see error is gone. So now we can use it. Now let me just copy paste everything. So whatever the field name we have, we just need to add it. Where is that? This is for phone number. Email on the drop down. Last one is for narration. Let me just copy paste it. The properties also. Narration name is equal to, make sure whatever the property name you bind to the ng model, same will go to the narration also, name also. Subject ID. Your name was missing, so let's add that. Then status ID. Name is equal to status ID. Then we have email. So let's get the email. Then we have alternate phone number. So alternate contact number is the property. Then we have phone number, that is nothing but contact number, and the customer name. So now basic thing is done. We have created object. That object we have binded to our form also properly. Let's go ahead and let's check if we have any error. As a developer, our console should be always on because whatever the error we get, we get to see over here. Now, on click of save, we need to make our API call. So before making API call, first we need to create that API call in the service. So now create new inquiry. Now this function is going to get the object. So object colon any. Again, I'm repeating. Don't create any, go with the class or interface. So return this dot http dot post API. So for post, we need to send two parameters, URL and the object. So let's get the URL. Let's put it over here. So this is my URL. It will go over here. After that, we need to send the object. So you can see it is asking for another parameter also. And if we pass it, it will stop it. Got it? So we have created function in our inquiry master service. Now we need to call that function also. So let's create on save this dot master service dot where it is create new inquiry. This is the function which we have to make. And this dot inquiry object you need to pass dot subscribe from bracket result colon any. Correct? Now here if you see the API response again, like you will get message, result, and data. And result is the property which you need to check. If you get the result as true, you will know that API call was success. If you get it false, means some error was there. And whatever the error is there, that you will get it in the message property. So that check you need to add. So res dot result. If it is true, you can say alert box, alert, and you can say inquiry created. But if you get the else, if you get the error, that will go to the else block, and in alert box, whatever the error message you get in the message field, you need to display like that. Let's add a debugger. Always, whenever you are writing the code for the first time, make sure you are adding the debugger. Make sure you are checking everything, whatever the data you are getting or not. In the service also, I'm adding. Now this function we have to make call on the save button click. So at the end we have this. So round bracket, click event, save function. So let's save all and let's debug the code. We should be able to create the inquiry properly. Now, so currently we have some record, right? So let's say Umesh. Let's enter a dummy mobile number. Let's say 5555666677. Let's try wrong mobile number. We are passing more than 10 digit. So we are supposed to get the error from the API. So Umesh @ gmail.com. Let's select the subject. Like let's consider this Umesh has called regarding destination wedding. He want to inquire about the destination wedding. Currently, this is a new inquiry. So we will keep it as a new narration, need destination details. Now, on click of save, our API call function that function should trigger. On click of save, so now you can see this function got called. Now, if we see the inquiry object, here you can see in inquiry status ID, we got something 3. In inquiry subject, we got something 1. That's because we have binded value over there. We have selected destination wedding in the subject and we have selected new over here, but that doesn't get provided over here. So we have got the ID. Then remaining things are same. Now, if we make the API call, we should see the error because we have provided now whatever the object we have passed that we are passing it over here. Now we are making the API call. So now you can see we have got the error that is 400. 400 we get it when we are okay. It's saying for creating date. We didn't pass the date. By default, we should pass the new date. I forgot that. New because we haven't taken the field. By default, current date should go. Let's try now. Again, once we get the 400, our success, error block didn't execute because we didn't write. So this is the success. Just like that, let's add error block as well. Yes. We will add a debugger over here. Whatever the error we get, now we can catch it over here. Let's write everything again. So let's provide it. Subject, we will select destination wedding. Let's say it's a new inquiry. Need details. Now on click of save, our function will trigger. Now let's check the object. Everything is there. Create date is also there now. Now if I click on continue, so now you can see error block got executed. So that is why this is important to handle the error. So if in error, you will see whatever the error you get it from the here. So now you can see we are getting the error for two fields, that is alternate contact number and the contact number. So we need to pass the proper data. So now let's correct it. 1122 112233. Let's pass it over here also. Now let's click on save, continue, continue. Now you can see success block got executed. So now in result, you can see we have got result as true, and data also we have got. Inquiry ID we have got because inquiry got created successfully. Continue. So that box is created. So now if you see, we have created Umesh record. Now if we go back, so here you can see Umesh record is visible. So the basic part is done. We have shown the inquiry list also. On click of create, we have shown the, what do we say? We have, oh, we are able to see the inquiry also created. Now, as we decided, after creating inquiry and after showing the list, we have one more thing, that is filtering the query, server side filtering. So let's come back to the API. Here you can see we have one API that is filter inquiries. Again, one thing like open and the edit and the update part I'm not doing. In all the videos I'm doing, just try any of the following video, or if I got the time, I will make the code ready and I will push it to the repository so you can have an access to that. But first thing is like, how do we implement the server side rendering? Correct. Now, server side filtering, as in, you need to call an API. By default, when we have to get the data from the API, it is normally get API call. Correct. When we have to show the data into the table. But if it is a filtering also, so that will be post API, because what type of data you need to filter. So this is what the parameters you have. By these parameters, you can filter your inquiries. Correct. So let's create this object. So you can see this is the post API. So let's go to service. First, we will create the API call function. This will be filter inquiry. Let's create our method name. This will go over here. That's it. Now, in the object, you can see by how many properties I can filter: customer name, contact number, email, inquiry status ID, subject ID, from date to date. Let's say I want to filter like from this to that to this date, how many inquiries I got. So I can filter it down. Now this thing we have to create as a form over here. Above the cards, we need to show the filters. So let's quickly create those. But we don't need this. Let's go in the inquiry list. Now above the table, we will create one more row, and inside that we will create our filters. So first filter like customer name, contact number, email ID. These are the free text box. So we will need three text boxes. So input, type text, placeholder. Let me just pause the video. I will create the form first. Yeah. So I have created a form like this. So whatever the filters we had, like that, I have created the form. Again, so here we had the inquiry status ID and inquiry subject. By status and by subject also we can filter. So I have to make that API call here also. So whatever we have done in the create form, just like that I have done over here. So let me just show you. So you can see simple form is there. And these two array we need. API call functions also I have done copy paste. So our UI is ready. Now on click of search, we need to pass the search object. So obviously we have to create one more object that we will bind to all the form. So let's create that search obj, or let's say filter obj. That will make more sense. Whenever you are creating any variable now, make sure you are passing the variable name very clearly. It should, by seeing the variable name, it should be clear like what is the purpose of that. Correct? Now, By default, let's make it empty. Let's remove this. For date, I have used that input type date. So we will get the calendar. So this we have to bind. Again, we are going to use the form module. So forms module, we need to add it. On this object, we have to bind to our various text box. Square bracket, round bracket, ng model. Dot. This is going to become common. So I will just copy paste this. Now we just need to bind the remaining things. This is to date. It will go over here. From date. Then we have subject. So inquiry subject ID. It will go over here. Inquiry status ID. It will go over here. Then we have email, contact number, and the name, customer name. Correct? So we have created our object. That object we have bind to our search box also. Now on click of search, we need to actually filter it. So click filter. Let's create this function. Either in some machine test, you will be asked to do the filter on client side. So in array, you need to filter it out by using filter and find method. But if they provide the API, you need to achieve this scenario. So this dot master service dot get filter inquiry is the object, and to this function we need to pass our filter object. Again, same thing, whatever we have written on the page load. So this I will copy paste and I will put it over, because in the same array we are going to store after filtering. Also in this variable also we have, in this variable only we have to store the data, because this variable we have binded to the form. Correct? So let's test it. Let me print the date also, because we need to filter it out. So we need to see the proper data. Here we will say date we need to showcase, right? So date on inquiries. Where is the date? Created date. So let's print it. Let's add a pipe that will be date. dd hyphen mm hyphen yy. If we have to use the date pipe again, I think we need to add it. So again, rule goes, whatever you use, you need to import that date pipe. Then only you can use the date. See, error is gone. Let's save. So date is also visible. Now, if you see, uh, this is for 2 days, but I have added some backdated entries. 15. So you can see for 15, in the last one, 15, we have some inquiries. Then for 30 also, we have some inquiries, and for 30 also. So let's say if we try to filter the date, let's say date will be from last month from 1 to around, let's say 17. So from 1 to 17 only we have 15, 15 and 20. Only these 4 records should be visible. Let's try that now. Oh, one more thing I forgot. For this API, if you are not going to filter the remaining field now, like in case of date, this will be by default goes empty. Let me just show you. If we click on search, you are getting everything. Why you are getting everything? So this we need to pass as empty, null. So let me just pass that as a null. If it is not there, because on API side, I'm checking this as null. If it is null, I'm not considering that. So let's try now. One to from date, that is 20. Now if I click on search, so see, we have just got 3 records which were having that particular date, 15, 15, 15. But let's say 20, right? If we say 22 and then click on search, so now you got the 20 record also. Correct? So this is how we do the server side filtering. Whatever the what number of parameter you need to filter, you send that with the API. And API will provide you the filtered date. Correct? And now on click of reset, we just need to reset the object. So this, let's write that also. Reset. So this dot filter object is equal to, we are just resetting it. And this function we need to call it over here. And once we reset again, we need to get all the data previous. So this get all inquiry, we can call. Let's test this also. So let's say I need to filter it by, let's say, name. So here you can see Ankit was there. Ankit, search. So now you can see we have got inquiries whose name start with Ankit. But now if I click on reset, see, we have got all the inquiries. So this is what server-side filtering is. Again, like in server-side filtering, we will get pagination, sorting, and everything. But for now, I have just enabled the filtering only. Pagination and sorting I have not taken care. But you can you for now you can do with this. In the some of the next video, I will try to cover the pagination and the sorting also. Correct. So this is how we have completed our inquiry management application. This is very basic. Again, it will cover the POC kind of thing, like what you need in the actual inquiry management application. There are so many products which only does this, because so many businesses need this kind of application to filter out, to strategize their business plan according to the what kind of inquiries, what is the market condition, just like that. Just they will gather the data and then will filter it out. Based on that, they will make their decision. Correct? So that's it. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. And if you have some of these machine tests like this, if you have faced anywhere, you can just forward it to me. I will try to cover it in my next video. That's it. Thank you, guys.